Murder Between Neighbors. Right Club Mysteries. Written by Michelle Corbier. Narrated by Artemis Arthur. Chapter 5. The wide central hallway of Maisha's medical office provided sufficient space for her to copy a school note for a patient while not impeding the staff. However, as she leaned against the wall, speaking with the child's parent, the door of exam room 2 flew open. Dina burst from the room, knocking Maisha into a small child before hurrying around the corner toward the staff restrooms. "I'm sorry," Maisha said, helping the child up from the floor. Once the apologies concluded, she escorted the family to the lobby. For a moment, she considered following Dina. But she had 2 more patients, and the office closed in an hour. She rapped on the door of exam room 2, heard, "Come in," and proceeded inside. A male patient, naked from the waist down, stood beside the exam table. "Excuse me," Maisha said, turning aside. "I thought you were ready." Before she could exit, the man said, "I am." Grimacing, Maisha pivoted slightly, glancing at the patient. "Do you need another gown?" She spied a cloth gown on the exam table, but thought it might be soiled, or the wrong size. "Nope, I'm good." "If you don't want to wear the gown, at least wrap it around your waist. I'll step out for a moment." She didn't wait for him to reply, but closed the door. His grin seemed inappropriate, but maybe he was simply in a good mood. A half-minute elapsed before she again entered the exam room. This time, the patient sat on the exam table, but remained completely exposed from the waist down. Maisha walked over to the sink and washed, then dried her hands. "Sir, did you not understand about wearing the gown?" After donning gloves, she removed a paper drape from under the sink and covered the man's genitalia. "I thought it would be easier this way." His chipper, toothy smile made Maisha closely scrutinize his countenance. He was a new patient, and though she had no familiarity with his behavior, Maisha detected something odd. Remembering she expected a call from the lawyer about Jared and the fence, she pushed it aside. "We want patients to be comfortable," she said, stepping away from the exam table. "Oh, I'm comfortable." He winked at her. Creep. Maisha rested on a stool and pulled up the patient chart in the EHR, the electronic health record. "So, Mr. Hopper, what concerns do you have today?" While asking questions, Maisha scanned the chart. Dina listed the complaint as groin pain. Great. "Well, you see, it hurts here." He pointed to his inguinal area. Maisha jumped off the stool. "Please remain covered." But Mr. Hopper had ripped off the dressing, exposing his genitalia. "Come, take a look." His smirk resembled a hyena's. "Touch me all you want." Through gritted teeth, Maisha hissed, "Get dressed and get out, now!" "Wait, don't you—" She didn't hear the rest of his comment because she slammed the exam room door. Maisha rested against the wall across from the exam room. How long should she give him to leave? 2 minutes later, the door opened, and Mr. Hopper stormed out. Though he turned as if heading for the lobby, he reared back and leered in her face. "I didn't know lesbians worked in this office." At a safe distance, Maisha followed him into the lobby. At the picture window looking out toward the front parking lot, she watched him enter a car and drive away. Glancing around the empty lobby, she headed for the registration desk. "If he comes back, call me immediately." 20 minutes later, Maisha dismissed the last patient. In the background, a vacuum hummed. She stretched her back and ambled toward the nursing triage area. On the computer. "May I speak with you?" she asked. With a simple nod, Dina abandoned the computer and faced her. "Did Mr. Hopper—" She didn't want to ask a leading question, but needed to get a clear picture of what occurred. "Tell me what happened with Mr. Hopper." Flushed, The nurse gazed at the wall, then her feet. Maisha inched closer and lowered her voice. "Let's speak in my office." Half a minute later, they faced each other across Maisha's desk. Instead of questioning Dina, she waited. Fumbling with the gloves on her hands, Dina looked up. "He dropped his pants while you were in the room?" "Yes, I was completing the intake form when he—" Dina bit her lip. Tears flooded her eyes. Though she wanted to hug Dina, Maisha remained respectful of her nurse's personal space. It had taken years, but therapy and patience had allowed Dina to become comfortable in the office. At least, Maisha had believed that to be true before she'd overheard Alma's and Shirley's taunts. Another minute passed before Dina said, "I gave him a gown and told him I would leave while he undressed, but he grabbed my hand and put it—" Maisha wanted to help, relieve this trauma as much as possible, but she had to hear it directly from Dina. A lone tear slid down Dina's cheek. "I ran." With a sigh, Maisha's shoulders sunk. This office had been her dream, a medical sanctuary where she could treat patients the way she wanted, hiring staff who represented and reflected her ideas. First, she had witnessed two of her staff behaving like bullies. Now, a sexual predator had assaulted her nurse. Maisha's chest pounded. She started to speak, but choked. Between the office, Jared, almost losing Boomer, and Josiah not coming home? "Stay in control. This is your domain." After clearing her throat, she said, "This will not be tolerated. Mr. Hopper will be dismissed today. We need to call the police." "No!" Dina shouted, vaulting from the chair. "Forget it. This isn't the first time he's done something like this. He committed a crime, violated—" "I won't. Can't you simply remove him as a patient?" "Yes, but he'll continue doing this to other women." "That's not my problem. I can't speak to the police about—" She rose, fumbling with the gloves again, apparently searching for words while circling the area in front of the desk. "Not again. I don't want to talk about this. Never again." Dina wrenched the door open and fled. At a slower pace, Maisha followed, but Dina locked herself inside the staff bathroom. Gradually, vacuuming ceased. Alma and Shirley peeked down the hallway from the lobby. Yvette's head poked outside her office door, which was beside Maisha's. Gently, Maisha knocked on the bathroom door. Her attempts to have Dina continue their conversation were met with silence. After a few minutes, she retired to her office. A quarter of an hour later, the medical assistants had departed. Unable to get Dina out of the bathroom, Maisha had joined Yvette in the front reception area. "What are you doing?" Maisha asked, resting her elbows on the countertop. "Scheduling." Yvette stopped typing and glanced up. "Now, what's going on with Dina?" She frowned. "What do you mean?" "I figured she was having another one of her episodes," Yvette said while typing. "I don't understand your attitude." "You have to admit, Mrs. Doctor, she is odd." "She's ill," Maisha said, massaging her neck. "Whether physical or mental, illness affects people's behavior differently." Frustrated with her staff and furious with her inability to control her world, office and home, Maisha slammed the desktop. How has she lost control? Why are things changing, and in such a negative way? Noticing the office manager's searching gaze, she hurriedly said, "A patient assaulted Dina today." Yvette gaped. "When? Who?" Several minutes passed as she explained what had occurred. During their conversation, Maisha heard the staff bathroom door open. "Send Mr. Hopper a dismissal letter. I need to contact the medical board about what actions to take. But if Dina won't report it, I'll speak with her. Send the letter today." Maisha checked her watch. "Or first thing tomorrow. Make sure it's certified or registered." "Absolutely." Yvette scribbled notes on a legal pad. Maisha walked down the hall at the same moment Dina retrieved a handbag from under a counter in the nursing triage room. "We need to talk. I have to go." She reached forward and touched the edge of Dina's coat. "I won't push, but if you want to talk, please call me." Dina nodded. "If you need time off, let me know." With a brief nod, Dina escaped out the rear office door. Maisha sauntered into her office and collapsed in the desk chair. She'd flubbed this big time. There weren't a lot of opportunities to practice how to speak with your staff when they're assaulted by a patient. Do better next time. The rear office door closed again. She swiveled around in the chair and watched Yvette drive off. She slipped out of her Birkenstock and into dress shoes. Over the next 15 minutes, she sauntered around the medical building. She considered the wallpaper, the furniture. Certain items she had picked out. Others came from Sammy's medical office after his stroke. Though over a decade had passed since her husband died, during the holidays, his absence hurt more acutely. Christmas time represented family. Her parents and siblings all lived in California. She had moved to North Carolina with Sammy. They had purchased their home together. Once he died, she and Josiah continued to live in that same home. Now, with him gone. But she had made a life with Josiah after her husband's death. She had developed friendships and had crafted a successful career. Why did Sammy's absence bother her so much this year? Because Josiah was in college, and she remained alone in the house with Boomer. During the holidays, her son would return, filling their family home with joy. With a deep sigh, Maisha gathered her purse and coat. Once all the lights in the office were extinguished, she set the alarm and left. Streets whizzed by as Maisha drove. Had she focused more on patient care and neglected her staff? Perhaps she had poor judgment when it came to people. Half her mind considered her medical practice. The other reviewed her earlier conversation with the lawyer. Maisha's lawyer had mentioned she needed proof that Jared's kids had damaged the fence. Otherwise, a successful lawsuit would be unlikely. After detailing the cost of litigation, the lawyer recommended she forget about suing. Simply repair the fence and install cameras around the yard. Her shoulders sagged. She shouldn't have to pay for Jared's delinquent kids, nor surrender her privacy to Big Brother's prying eyes. Turning left into the cul-de-sac, Maisha's eyes widened. A trail of police vehicles and an ambulance were parked along the street. Neighbors dotted the sidewalk. She scanned the area, searching for Boomer, but couldn't find him anywhere.